Week 12 in the NFL begins on Thanksgiving Day with the triple header featuring the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions, followed by the Vegas Raiders taking on the Dallas Cowboys, and the nightcap being the Bills and the Saints. Then your featured Sunday slate features Tom Brady and Tampa taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The playoffs is clearer than it's ever been. A lot of teams where it's still very hard to find their identity, including teams like the Titans, who have great wins on this season, but then terrible losses as well, as they've now lost to the Texans. They lost to the Jets earlier this season. And, of course, they're without Derrick Henry the rest of the way. That's what we believe, at least. All right, Thanksgiving slate. This is what we've got for you. We've mentioned it in the open. The Bills take on the Saints. That's prime time. It'll be Drew Brees on the call with Mike Tirico. With the Saint, he'll be calling a Saints game. That'll be very interesting to see there. The other Thanksgiving games, of course, it starts with the Bears and the Lions, two struggling teams. But the Lions, I think they could break through. They could win this game and get their first victory this season. That midday game on CBS, I think, is going to be the best one of the day. The Raiders and the Cowboys. Cowboys coming off a tough loss to the Chiefs, and then the Raiders lost to the Bengals last week. All right, we got a lot to talk about, and let's start with these Thanksgiving games. Let's give you a perspective. Jordan is off this week. He is celebrating Thanksgiving, which we hope that all of you out there celebrate Thanksgiving in a positive way and a productive way, where you're with your family and you're eating turkey. If you're not eating turkey, you're missing out, because it's the most wonderful time of the year is Thanksgiving. And the NFL, of course, we could see record audiences for the season, at least this week. But I digress. Let's get right into our Thanksgiving games. I've got the Bears beating the Lions. Jordan's got the Lions beating the Bears. I think this is a very interesting game here. The Bears, who I believe will be starting Andy Dalton in this game. And then it's the Lions, who have just not won a game yet this season. They've had problems, issues. I think this is a tough game to pick, but I'm going with the Bears just because they've been struggling so long. Matt Nagy, he is very much in that hot seat. He needs this win for sure. I don't know if he's fired. He's probably fired at the end of the season no matter what. But you got to beat the Lions on the road, and I think it's just this Bears team, I think, was so close last week that I think they will break through. I just don't know. It's going to be tough. Jordan obviously has the Lions. It's not going to be too hard to know. All right, middle game of Thanksgiving. It's the Raiders and the Cowboys. I've got the Cowboys. Jordan's got the Cowboys as well. Tough loss for them last week. They didn't play too well. Dak, a little too aggressive, and made some bad plays. And that was one of the best performances we've seen of the Chiefs' defense. I just think that at home, Dallas should be given the edge in this game. It was a tough loss last week for Dallas. You got to remember that this squad has been very successful this season, and they're typically successful on Thanksgiving at home, so I'll be going with Dallas. And then our final game of Thanksgiving, it's Buffalo and New Orleans. I have the Bills. Jordan's got the Bills as well, coming off a terrible loss to the Indianapolis Colts. They just absolutely let Jonathan Taylor run all over them. Now, I don't think the Saints will be able to replicate that. We're both going with the Bills, and what's key for them in this game is they've got to get the passing going, and they've got to get some sort of a running game as well. They cannot be too reliant. Josh Allen cannot play hero ball. They need to convert first downs. They need to score early and score often, and I think Buffalo should be able to do that. New Orleans on a short week, I believe, with not the greatest quarterback that they could ever have. But Drew Brees will be in the broadcast booth. It'll be a very interesting watch on NBC. let's move on to some of these storylines coming into week number 12. The Bills, we mentioned it earlier, they struggled very much offensively. It was not only last week, but it was earlier when they played the Jaguars, just 6 points to them against them. I don't know what it is about this Bills offense, but they have to have more weapons than just Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. You got to find some other ways. Got to get either a screen game to go, a running game, some sort of other option. You can't be trying to chuck the ball down the field 20 yards every play. You got to have some intermediate plays. Can't be in long third down situations, and got to avoid turnovers. I don't know if they can get out of the struggle, but I think they will this week. Don't know if they long term. What's the situation in that AFC East? Patriots are currently in that playoff position. Patriots, are they back here? Are they the best team in the AFC East? It's a tough division to scout out here. We know it's not going to be the Jets. We know it's not going to be the Dolphins. It's these two teams, Bills, Patriots. They meet, I believe, next Monday night. Week 13 Monday night. So that's next week, right? It'll be a good one. I mean, that really could decide the division in that game. But when the Patriots released Cam Newton, I think they sent a message that they believe in Mac Jones, that they believe that he is the future of the franchise, at least in the near future. No one's planning for 30 years down the road. They didn't plan for Tom Brady to be there for as long as he was in New England. But Mac Jones, again, he's been playing very well. He should be the Rookie of the Year, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Again, great job for Mac Jones. And in this, they this week get the Titans at home. Big opportunity to make a statement win on their schedule. Of course, terrible start to the season for New England. But since Mac Jones has started to pick up his speed, they played well. So it'll be an interesting race in that AFC East. I don't know who's the better team right now, but we will know next Monday night when they go head-to-head. AFC North, we'll get to in a moment. But first, let's talk about the Titans. They've now lost the Jets early in the season. Now the Texans. Can they win this AFC South? Right now the Titans are up by basically 3 games. It's like 2.5 games, I guess. Titans 8-3, Colts 6-5, and the Titans won both of the head-to-head matchups. So it would take a very good run for the Colts to catch up. They would have to go +3. They don't have a head-to-head matchup at all. But if the Titans do end up struggling, they lose this week, the Colts would probably have to win this week as well. But I think the Titans may end up winning the division. But it's going to be closer than it is now. I think they may end up having the same record at the end of the year. The Titans, of course, going through on the head-to-head. But it's going to be interesting. This Colts team, not the easiest of schedules. I think the Titans' schedule is manageable, at least. Let's move on. AFC North, it's still all 4 teams are still in this race. Ravens at 7-3, Bengals at 6-4, Steelers at 5-4-1, and the Browns at 6-5. And all 4 of these teams play another divisional opponent this week. We're going to really set the stage for who's going to win this division. Pittsburgh takes on Cincinnati, noon Central Time on CBS, and then Sunday Night Football is Cleveland and Baltimore. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity to put yourselves away, especially the Ravens. They can really separate themselves from the Browns and being really the top of the AFC if they can win. And the Ravens haven't played well. They haven't. They've struggled a lot, but I think they can pull it off here. Bengals, Steelers and Bengals this week. That's another interesting one. Eagles. Let's talk about the Eagles for a moment. They are rising up. They are playing much better than they had in the past. The start of the season for the Eagles, terrible. Absolutely abysmal. But they've won the last 2 games. Congrats to them. They beat the Broncos, and now they beat the Saints. 2 teams that, at one point in this season we said we're good. But that's not what it is anymore. NFC West, it's still an interesting race. We got the Cardinals ahead of everybody else at 9-2. Got a couple wins out of Colt McCoy. Rams at 7-3. They've struggled. They struggled definitely as of late. They lost to the Cardinals, and then now they've lost 2 recent games. Titans, and then the 49ers, I believe. The 49ers, though, do they still have a shot? A legitimate shot? They're 5-5. I think they can be a playoff team, but they're going to have to keep winning. Critical game for them this week against the Vikings. Those two teams could end up being side by side at the end of the year. They need this tie-breaking win. The 49ers do this week. That's a big game. Anyway, let's get into those picks. Let's get our Sunday picks. And it's week 12, In like 2 months from right now, we're going to be talking about 2 months from right now. It's like the end of January, right? Yeah, that's not too far away, actually. So 6 weeks away from the last week of the season. That's crazy to think about. All right. Pittsburgh Cincinnati. I'm going with the Steelers. Jordan's going with the Bengals. Now, I'm going to go with the veteran leadership in Ben Roethlisberger in this game. He has a full week this week to prepare. I think it gives him a good chance. I always like to go with veteran leadership, especially in these divisional games. I mean, I don't care where the game's being played, really. I mean, some situations it matters, but in these divisional opponent games, Ben Roethlisberger's been to Cincy plenty of times. This time, I think he gets the dub against the Bengals. All right, Carolina Panthers, Miami Dolphins. I'm going with Carolina. So, I mean, they played a good Washington team last week. Miami is far worse than Washington that they played last week. I think the Panthers will run over the Dolphins, similar to how they beat the Cardinals. Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. I'm going to Philly. I mean, Jordan's also going with Philly. Giants, they didn't show up too well. They showed up for a little bit against the Bucs last week, but they've really struggled. And I think this Eagles team can move themselves closer to a playoff spot if they win on Sunday. So they got a big opportunity for them. Tennessee Titans, New England Patriots. We're both going with New England. I mean, the way we saw the Titans last week, it was just terrible. I mean, it really was terrible. And to lose to the Texans in the fashion they did, their offense just was shut down all game. New England on the other side has been trending upwards. I think New England at home, it's probably going to be a little cooler, has the advantage. So let's move on to Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Jaguars, a Southeast matchup. I will be going with the Atlanta Falcons. Jordan's going with the Jaguars. I think Kyle Pitts will get involved in this game, playing back in Florida where he played his college ball. This game could very much go either way. I just think the Jaguars, I don't know. Trevor Lawrence, Matt Wright, I don't know in this sort of situation. Both teams are not going to make the playoffs. Let's be honest. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're really just in that mode where, you want to win, but then again, do you want to win? I'm going with Atlanta. I don't know what's going to go on. I don't know. All right, Tampa takes on Indianapolis. I have the Bucs. Jordan's got the Colts. This is a big game. Really is. Well, I almost put this as a game of the week. I put Rams-Packers as our game of the week this week. But this is easily right there with that game. Tampa Bay has played well most of the weeks this season. They've had a couple bad performances. But on the other side, the Colts are coming off their best performance this season. Didn't play well in their two matchups with the Titans this year. And they have three other losses, I believe. But this Colts team, they're playing well right now. They need to try to win on the ground. But I'm always going with the veteran. I'm going with Tom Brady. I'm not betting against him, especially in an indoor environment. His Buccaneers will be ready, and it should be a thriller. I think it could come down to that last possession. Tom Brady leading him to a game-winning drive. That's probably how it's going to go. Tampa and Indianapolis, 1 Eastern on Fox on Sunday. Jets take on the Texans. Also on Sunday, we're both going with the Texans. Jets really struggled this season. I mean, the Jets are really, they've always been hitting an all-time low every single week as of the recent part of the season. Now, the Jets have a chance, but I think the Texans, they had a little bit of momentum. We'll be going with the Texans. Chargers, Broncos, we're getting those late games. We're both going with the Chargers. Great performance last week, Chargers offensively. Their defense needs to play a little better, but I think Justin Herbert can lead them to a victory. Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers. I've got the 49ers. Jordan's got the Vikings. I just don't, I can't trust the Kirk Cousins to lead himself to victory in 2 weeks in a row playing quality opponents. This is a quality 49ers team. We all know that. Vikings have had a ton of bad breaks. They may get another bad break this week. But it could go either way as well. But the way the 49ers have been playing the last few weeks leads me to believe that they can at least keep this game very close. And in a very close game, I'll go with the home team and the 49ers, especially this Vikings squad going. It's a decent trek down out to Cali for Minnesota. Rams and the Packers, the Fox game of the week. Rams have been struggling. Packers coming off a heartbreaker to Minnesota where they lost at the very end of the game. We're both going with the Packers in this one. It's going to be interesting. Aaron Rodgers back at home in this game. Matthew Stafford has struggled his whole career against Aaron Rodgers, and I think it continues this Sunday. So, there's not too much to say, but the Packers are going to bounce back. That's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter how good this Rams team is. They just haven't played well as of recently, and teams are starting to figure them out, I assume. Matthew Stafford, you can only go so many games as an older quarterback where you play at your highest level. He just hasn't been quite there the last couple of weeks, especially when their wide receiver room has been a little shifted around with Odell Beckham coming in. I'm just going with the Packers. George's going with the Packers as well. We'll see what happens. Cleveland, Baltimore, Sunday Night Football. This is a big game in the AFC North again, as we mentioned. I think what's key in this game is Lamar Jackson should be back for Baltimore, and really a 2-week rest of Lamar Jackson. That's really that's key for the Ravens. The Browns have been in tough competition the last couple of weeks, and everything's been up and down for them. And I think Baltimore, they're content. They're happy. They survived against Chicago. They didn't have Lamar Jackson, and their team pulled away. And I think they've got momentum. So at home against the Browns, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Ravens have played well in prime time with Lamar Jackson, most notably that win on Monday Night Football when they played the Colts. All right, let's move to Monday Night Football real quickly here. As the Seahawks take on Washington, it's big. Seattle has Russell Wilson back, but they have struggled mightily. Russell Wilson is in jeopardy of losing another game. I think this would be his 4th consecutive loss as a quarterback if he were to lose this game, and that would be terrible. I'm going to go with Seattle. Jordan's going with Washington. I have no clue what's going to go on in this game. I just want to say that Seattle's going to end this losing skid. I want to say that. And this Washington squad, I don't know how good they're going to play. Everything's so hard at this point in the season. It's so hard to predict, so hard to anticipate what's going to go on, and it's just going to be a matter of moments. I think this stays a close game. I go with Russell Wilson at the end of the game. I believe in him. I think that he can shine under the stars on Monday Night Football. We'll see what happens. We'll see. It's a big week. Our NFL playoff picture, keeps rolling every week. But who's in, who's out, and all right. Do they want to? So right now, I believe the Titans are still top of the AFC according to this. I don't think they'll stay there too long. Patriots are third, Ravens second, Titans first, Bengals are fifth, Chargers sixth, Bills seventh. So, I mean, in absence of the Steelers, I think the Steelers will climb there with a win this week against the Bengals. So, Steelers are currently one game out. There's still a lot to be shaken up around this. A lot's still in play. Trust this, guys. And then over the NFC, Cardinals still first, Packers second, Buccaneers third, Cowboys fourth, Rams fifth, Vikings sixth, and the Saints are still at seventh. Over there in the NFC, it would be San Fran and Philly, the next two teams. Which either of those teams still have a great shot at getting the playoffs. The NFC is wide open, especially around the wild card game, around those wild cards. There's a huge separation between that 5 and that 6 right now. It's 2 games between the Rams and the Vikings. It's going to be a fun push for the finish. And of course, we have that scheduling update, if you didn't see it. It was the Chiefs and the Broncos was flexed to Sunday Night Football in Week 13. And then in week number 15, they decided the Saturday games. And those Saturday games will be Vegas and Cleveland and New England, Indianapolis. I definitely like that latter game. Those games are both on the NFL Network. And it's going to be good. Saturday football in December. It's what we've had the last couple of years. But this time, it's 1 week further from the postseason. So, it is what it is. All right. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We sincerely hope you stay safe, stay healthy during this time of the season. And, of course, watch your football because it's going to be good. Of course, a great week of college football, great week of the NFL. This is really one of the best weeks in all of sports. Outside of March Madness, outside of maybe the Super Bowl day itself. But this is a fun time. Enjoy it while it lasts.